IELTS listening. Here are 15 tips that you're going to need to know in order to succeed in your IELTS listening exam. Number 1, there is only one listening examination for IELTS. That means if you do IELTS academic or if you do IELTS general, in the exam you will be doing the exact same listening test. Number 2, there are 4 different sections to IELTS with 40 questions. Section 1 involves 2 speakers. This is a social, everyday type situation. A typical example of this might be a lady on the telephone wanting to book a restaurant, or a man at a hotel wanting to book a room. Section 2 involves 1 speaker. This is also a social, everyday situation. For example, a man giving a talk about his local community. Section 3 involves 2 speakers. This is academic. This means the language is going to be more formal and it will be a more academic style of language. Okay? This is the hardest part of your listening exam. The reason for this is that you need to be very good at multitasking and understanding what happens in a conversation with multiple people. Number 4, practice using the official IELTS examination sheet. I suggest you do this because when you get into the exam, you won't need to worry about understanding the instructions on the paper. You'll already know them. Number 5, remember, you only get to hear the audio once. Number 6, regarding the scoring of IELTS, you only get marks for correct answers. That means that if you put down an incorrect answer, you don't lose marks. Number 7, answers should be given in either capital letters or lowercase. That means that if you're going to write in capital letters, you should start with capital letters and finish with capital letters. Alternatively, if you decide to use lowercase, you need to understand when to appropriately capitalize. For example, names or names of countries. The first letter will always be in uppercase or a big letter. In other words, a capital letter. Number 8, remember in answering your questions, you can only give 2 words and or a number for your answer. Be very careful and pay close attention to this. Here are some examples. One example might be policeman. B, local policeman. C, 50 local policemen. So 50 local policemen, that's only 2 words, okay, plus the number. Number 9, a lot of people ask me, Patrick, do we need to use prepositions? The answer is, it depends.
If the question is, where is the place that people who are sick go, then the answer is simply hospital. But if the question is, where was the best place to meet at, then the answer would be the hospital.
So it depends on the situation. You need to be very familiar with this. We've included some practice questions for you to get better and improve at this. With a little bit of practice, this can become very easy and second nature. Number 10, remember that all words get counted for your word count. It doesn't matter how big or how small they are, they will be counted as words. For example, a house. A or a is a single letter, but it will be counted as a word. Okay, so keep that in mind when you think about your word limit. Okay, remember that answers, there's no more than 2 words and or a number per answer in your question. 11, spelling is obviously very important. If you put down answers and your spelling is correct, Even if the examiner can see that your idea is correct, you still will not get given a mark for that answer. Okay? So practice answering. So practice answering and practice answering with correct spelling. Number 12, how do you know whether to use words or letters? Well, it really depends on the type of question that's being asked. Obviously, if it's a multiple choice question, then you will respond using a letter. If it's not a multiple choice question, for example, fill in the blanks, obviously you need to fill in something appropriate in order to correctly answer that question. Number 13, it's extremely important to know the different question types. There are a number of different question types that I'm about to go through with you, but it's so important that you're familiar with those different question types. The reason why is because each different question has a different format. And when you have a different format, the language is always going to be different, okay? Now that sounds really scary and daunting, but if you just practice it and get very familiar with the different question types, you will succeed. Here are the different question types that you might be given in your IELTS listening exam. Multiple choice, map completion, diagram completion, flowchart completion, summary completion, and table completion. Number 14, the questions will be asked using a number of different accents. For example, the IELTS listening test may include the Australian accent, the British accent, the American accent, the Scottish accent, the Canadian accent, and the South African accent. You might also get the New Zealander accent as well. Number 15, don't try to understand everything. There is a real skill to the IELTS listening exam, and you're not expected to understand absolutely every detail within the test. As long as you can answer the questions and have a general understanding, you can still do well and pass your listening component. I've added some notes below for you to revise, and I'll see you in the next section.